Welcome back to the 12th Man podcast. Good to be back after a wee week's break. We've got Owen as well on the night. He is very excited for the Premier League returning. Owen, how have you been over the last week or so? And you looking forward to the Premier League returning this weekend?
It's been a hard 2 weeks without it, especially after such a good result against Villa for us going into the break. I've just been itching to get to the Wolves game, so roll on Saturday.
Not even 10 seconds, and you've mentioned Liverpool already. Jeez, you're killing me.
Has to be done.
Do you know what? We're going to speak about the Premier League return towards the end of the show, but just so much happened over the last week between international football, which, to be fair, I don't think it was a great standard. I think unless it comes to the proper competitions, the Euros, the World Cup, that's when things heat up. But
It's a hard one.
We've also had the criticism of Maguire, which has went a wee bit personal. The Jadon Sancho story seems to be getting bigger and not going away. And we're going to look at all them things, and we're going to start, as we are from Ireland, we have to start with Stephen Kenny. Two big games in the last week. France away, which everyone probably felt like we had absolutely no chance. They're arguably the best team in the world. But the Holland game, I think a lot of people had a bit more hope for, especially after when we give France a proper game at home. Holland are going through a period where they're not at their strongest. And they had that, they had been beat already by France quite convincingly. We got off to a great start, but in the end, we were beat 2-1, and that all but ends any hope of qualification. I know we still can qualify mathematically, but I mean, we need snookers. We need 5 or 6 snookers to go our way. And it does seem really unlikely. So, look, Stephen Kenny has been given the back-end today that he will be in charge for the final 3 group games. I'm not surprised by that. I thought nothing would happen until after the Holland game in November anyway. Owen, how do you feel about Stephen Kenny? Do you feel that after November there has to be a change, or do you feel that, you know what, let's give him another shot at the World Cup qualification?
No, there has to be a change now. The results haven't been great, and even the style of football is better under him, but the results haven't been great. And as you say, we should have beat Holland, in my opinion, especially after the first at least 15 minutes. I thought we played excellent in the first 15 minutes, but once Holland got the equaliser through the penalty through Gakpo, I think it was, we just crumbled in.
I think that the game plan was they obviously pressed them, won the ball high back off the pitch, and they did a few times. Benny had 2 opportunities. I think one just before the penalty went done, and then the second one later on in the half, where we won the ball on the edge of the D, and he took an extra touch and didn't put it away. And you kind of think that was the game plan, try and get 2 or 3 goals up, and then, we can relax a wee bit. But in the end, I think the penalty changed the game. We had used up a lot of energy in that first half, and Holland got in front in the second half, and we ran out of ideas. And I think the team looked quite tired, especially after the runaround they got in France. And they've had injury problems and stuff. So, look, I don't want to focus on them 2 games too much. I think we have to look at Stephen Kenny's reign as a whole. 5 wins in 26 competitive games. Them 5 wins coming against Scotland, Gibraltar, Azerbaijan, Luxembourg, and they begin with an A. I can't remember now. Armenia. That's his 5 wins. Now, it will be expected to beat Gibraltar again, which would take it to 6. But I don't really think ones against Gibraltar gets you any credit. Even though we're on a bit of a struggle ourselves, we're still expected to beat teams like Gibraltar. I think where a lot of fans lost 5th was the Greece result away from home. People see that as an opportunity. We're the higher seeded team, that we should be going and winning there. And it wasn't just the way it wasn't just losing the game. It's the way we play. We didn't turn up at all. Owen, do you think there's been any positives in Stephen Kenny's reign? A lot of people that are still backing him are saying, we're playing better football. It's better to watch. But I did back him for a long time, but it is a results business, and all our find results.
It is better to watch, but we're not getting the results to go along with it. And as you say, football's a results business, and Ireland should be qualifying for tournaments. I was looking at it, teams like Luxembourg are qualifying. It's just not good enough. And I know it's hard for the FAs to get the best players because especially down south, like football's not their main sport. It's Gaelic, so it's hard to it's hard to get the quality of players needed to go to these big tournaments.
Mm. See, right, let's just say he's got these next three games, right?
Yeah,
He will be expected to beat Greece at home and Gibraltar away. If he was to beat Holland away as well, and I even think that might still not be enough to qualify. I think it's unlikely to beat Holland, but I think even if they won the three games, it'll be unlikely to qualify.
yeah,
You think if he was to won them three games, there might be some fans, parts of the media, maybe saying he deserves another chance. Do you think the Holland game will be crucial? If he is fighting to keep his job, because Greece won't be easy, but you still
yeah.
expect Ireland a minimum draw, and if he can manage to win that
Mhm.
game, Gibraltar away should take care of itself. And if he goes out there and gets a result, and Holland beat, and I think even he would have to win that game, do you think he may have his contract extended, or do you think that the damage is already done, and regardless of what happens, they will look to make a change for the start of the World Cup qualification?
No, I think no matter what happens, I think his time's up now. And as you say, it has been better football, but again, we go back to it. It's a results business. But I do think after this qualification campaign, I do think there'll be a change in management.
As a fan, right, and I think a lot of Irish fans campaigned for Kennedy to come on. Because they knew the kind of football he was going to try and play.
Yeah,
Would you much rather go back to the days of Martin O'Neill, where the football was torrid? It was hold on to your hat, lump it forward, and rely on set pieces, and maybe get the odd result, as opposed to this here? Or what would you rather
it's
see? Would you rather have the results and football doesn't matter, or would you rather see this kind of style of play?
a bit of both. Like, why can't you play good football and win games? Like that's what every fan really wants to see. But at the end of the day, if playing boring football gets you results, then do it. But you want to see your national team play good football. So it's sort of a hard one to judge because who would be like a top quality manager to come on and replace him? Like
Well, do you know
that's
what? We're gonna come on. We're gonna come on to that, right? Before we do you think there's anything Stephen Kenny could have done differently? Because I do have sympathy with him. I do think this is possibly the weakest group of
no,
players
that's
we've had, certainly in my lifetime. And I think
no,
if you go back before our time, Ireland always had famous players, players that played at the top level.
yeah,
Even under likes of O'Neill and Trapattoni, and I think we did have slightly better players. I think
yeah,
there was a decline in players then. We still had the odd player playing in the Premier League, playing at a decent level. We've never replaced Robbie Keane, although Ferguson now looks like our best bet to do that.
yeah.
But
He's gonna be
he is only 18, so you can't
yeah,
really rely on an 18-year-old. But there is no one of real stature. It's a mix of sort of yo-yo players between lower league, Premier League, and Championship.
yeah.
And
Even League Two now we
League Two,
McLean.
League One. So do you think there's anything Kenny could have done differently? And then we'll come on to that second part about a new manager. So
It is hard to see what I could have done differently with a group of players that we have because as you say we don't have the quality. We just don't have the squad.
Callum's just mentioned that. Do you not think the squad just isn't good enough? Underachieving, yes, but there's not too much quality.
No, I agree,
Um,
I agree with what Callum said there. Like we don't have the squad. Like, even a team like Scotland have far more quality than we do.
and
And
as I said, it's not just a problem. The Northern are struggling as well, and we're going to come on to that as well in a wee minute. But so I think now that whereas probably prior to the summer, I think a lot of people were still supporting Kenny. I think the Greece result changed that, and I thought he had to get a one against Holland to try and get some fans that he'd lost back on side. I think the fans now are very much tipping towards that there should be a change.
yeah,
Who do you think the new manager should be? There's talk of Lee Carsley, done well the English under 21s. I've heard Neil Lennon's name getting mentioned. Personally, I would have.
no, 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 no.
Personally, I thought we should have tried to make the change after Greece because I
Yeah,
didn't really see us getting any results. I thought we should have tried to get Brendan Rodgers. He could have turned it down. But I thought that would have been the best out there. And he is an Irishman. Maybe would have fancied it. I thought he might have been the best in class.
yeah.
So is there anyone that sort of springs to mind you think could come on and do a better job?
It might be a long shot, but try Graham Potter maybe. I know he could turn it down, but he would be the front of the queue for me.
I thought about that, but I think there's every chance he could be lined up as the next England manager as well.
Mm.
I know
Yeah,
Pep's being talked about, but I don't think Pep will. I don't think it's the right time for him. I think,
no.
well, he might fancy going the Spanish job before he fancies the English
Mm.
job. But if he was looking at the English job, I don't think it would be now.
No.
Every talk of Southgate maybe possibly stepping down after the Euros. We're going to come on to that as well.
Yeah,
Potter, I thought about as well, but I just think he'll have better offers. He's already turned down Leon and he's
yeah,
already turned down Rangers apparently.
yeah.
And they actually have a manager. So I think Potter, his stock's still high that Ireland won't be
Could we
someone
go
he.
back to O'Neill? Like you don't know.
Well, this is the thing. If you go back to O'Neill, it's kind of like an experiment that didn't work, and it's going to
Yeah,
give him the license to do what he wanted. And again, I think with O'Neill have better players, and I think if he's going to play that way, you're going to see even less of the ball. So you're going to have
yeah,
to have better players to try and make the most of what you have.
yeah,
But for me, it is with a heavy heart. I do think that there needs to be a change after Holland. I think that
yeah,
he's had enough time. I think he's been unlucky in certain situations with COVID. Having no fans, having a lot of players missing in games. Ferguson getting injured doesn't help. Although I
yeah,
still think he could probably lose them games anyway. He's had a lot of injury problems. But it's his interviews that worry me. I think he's out of his depth. He
yeah,
says, accepting, that we should be accepting, getting beat by 1 goal is okay, and we're playing half decent football, so that's okay. I don't think that's acceptable. I think that he's done. He's probably taken us as far as he could,
yeah.
and I do think there is a role for Kenny. If he would like to go back to under 21s, maybe that's probably where he could be best served. But for me, I
Like you
think you
wouldn't.
have to give and again, I think you maybe have to go down the route of Lee Carsley now.
Yeah.
But again,
That
that's not
seems
much
to
difference.
be Lee Carsley seems to be the favorite if Kenny does leave. So I would say
But
he
the,
would
the
be.
thing, the thing that he's coming from the exact same background really as Kenny,
Yeah,
where he took an all under 21 team, always got more talent.
yeah.
So as there, do you think Lee Carsley or any other manager will you'll see a change because there's no transfer
Well,
window.
probably not.
We've got what we have. So you know, is it just more of a change to try and spark something rather than the expectation?
That's it. Because as we keep going back, Dave, we don't have the quality of player like we did 10, 20 years ago. So no matter who's in charge of the team, you're going to struggle, I think, with the group of players that we have at the minute. And you can't rely on an 18-year-old Ferguson because he's as much as he's top quality and he will be top quality, he's very young and he's not really experienced at international level or any level for that matter.
Mm. Look, we mentioned it there about the lack of quality around. We've really struggled to produce players over the last 10 or 12 years. It just hasn't happened. We're talking about Ferguson now as possibly being the next thing, but it's not enough. We need more. Why do you think? And I know you sort of hinted on earlier, but why do you sort of think? What do you think the main problem is? Why we're not seeing players come through north or south?
Well, as I said, for the South, it's just not their main sport. They seem to be leaning towards GA more down south, and for the North, I just don't. I don't understand that one because there is top quality players in the North, like so. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to think of.
The FAA's come under a lot of criticism. That we haven't
Yeah,
got the right foundations. Coaching isn't as good. A lot of volunteer coaches around. They're not getting paid. Facilities are poor.
if you look at the League of Ireland, like the quality is pretty low.
But I think if you look at it right, I was listening to something the other day. Croatia have a very similar population size to Ireland.
And
The
look
Croatian
at the
the Croatian league wouldn't be looked at as a top league either. So
yeah,
I can sort of understand. I don't think we have to have a great, Irish league. I think because most of the players
yes,
any players that make it are going to move anyway. So
yeah.
I think the biggest why are we not seeing a lot of players move to England like we used to? So I think there's massive problems with the FAA in terms of
Yeah.
obviously there's financial trouble. Coaching's not as good. There's no real like if you look at all the top nations, Spain, even England now, they've got proper
No,
youth academies.
there's no
Um,
like academies in Ireland. Like,
no, there's nothing really, and I think that's why we're really struggling. As you said, I think down south there is a massive and growing as well. Um, liking for GA. It's always been massive, but I think even more so now.
That's getting
I
bigger.
think a lot more people are starting to play it as well. Um, you know, what do you think the future is, Owen? Do you think this is going to be very much, Ireland qualifying for a tournament's almost going to be like unheard of?
I was saying this today to a friend of mine. The next tournament Ireland will be in is the one we're hosting. That's generally what I
Well,
feel.
this is the thing. We're sweating on that. I think October the 10th, the UEFA will announce who's going to be hosting it. Will it be the GB in Ireland or Turkey? Now, I think it's very much looking like it's going to be Great Britain and Ireland.
Yeah,
But it'll be interesting to see, will all 5 teams be allowed in automatically?
yeah, that would be
Because
interesting.
that is quite a huge number to let in.
Yeah. Aye, because you have England, Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland. So it'll be interesting to see if all the home nations get automatically in. But I would like to think they would, like, if they are hosting.
One suggestion I've heard, it is quite controversial, is maybe we
Is
should
both
merge.
teams.
Merge. Do you think merging would make it any different? Because if you look at the Northern Ireland team, they're really struggling as well. Is there anyone in that Northern Ireland team you think would come in and make a big difference to this Republic team, and vice versa? I don't really see that at the moment.
Not really, no.
I think it's a problem across the board. We're just
Yeah.
not producing enough players either side of the border.
And another thing would be, obviously, if you were to merge the teams, the political side of it would be controversial. So what side would you edge on then? So it just opens a can of worms for me if you merge both sides.
Right, let's move on and talk about our great neighbours, England. I'm sure we're all going to be delighted to see them the way they're playing at the minute. But
Oh,
look,
great.
you have to give them credit. They've
They're playing great football.
they've got very good players, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next sort of 6 or 7 months.
And even their manager's under fire, and they're playing.
And he's under fire.
good
We're going to talk
football.
about him, but we're going to talk about one particular individual. He's come under a lot of fire this week, and that's Harry Maguire. Now he's been criticised, possibly rightly so, in terms of his footballing ability, and maybe not so much his ability, but he's low in confidence. His form's been poor. But his criticism this week went over the top after being announced in the squad. He didn't have a great game when he came on against Scotland, scoring the own goal. And it's almost like it's a running joke now. When he makes a mistake, everyone jumps on him. Do you think it's getting to the point now where it's going too far?
It is, but
because it seems to be getting flagged up. He's saying he's not letting it on, but I've seen his Muller speaking about it. He's been speaking about it. Southgate's been speaking about it. It's almost becoming bigger than the England football team now. Harry Maguire playing, so is it overshadowing what England fans and the media should be looking at?
And it is getting too far for me. And you've seen, just to bring it to Dele, you've seen the fact of his mental health. Obviously, it's different circumstances by what he went through as a child. And Maguire's saying it's not affecting him, but it obviously is if he's doing newspaper interviews, TV interviews. So they have to be really careful, because as much as people say, "Oh, he should just get on with it because he's on X amount of money," he's still a human being at the end of the day, and he still has emotions that he goes through. So I would say just calm off it a wee bit.
I think Dele's interview resonated pretty hard with a lot of football fans, but the problem with that is it's one interview, and then it bees over time forgotten about. I don't think these fans, when they're slating Maguire, actually mean it personally. I think heat of the moment, but they're not really looking at what that can do to that individual. And as you see me, Dele's interview in the summer, it was quite tough to watch, quite emotional.
It was
not just because he's a former Spurs player. It was it was quite tough for everyone, because I know a lot of different football fans that
he's a former Everton player, but and obviously I don't like them, but
he's actually, believe it or not, he's actually still on the books at Everton, but he hasn't kicked the ball.
I've always had a soft spot for Dele. I've always thought he was a talented boy. Maybe that was because he grew up as a Liverpool fan, and so. But no, it was a hard watch, that interview, and you never know what can happen with these players. So it's a strange one with Maguire, but he shouldn't be getting picked for England. At this point, he's not good enough, especially when you have the people like Colwell and Tomori not getting a kick. So
do you think Southgate is partly responsible for this sort of onslaught of Maguire, because he in the end is the one picking him? He's out of form. He can't get a game for United unless, well, he might now because there's injuries, but he's like fourth choice. And it could be fifth choice because Johnny Evans is coming. If he starts playing in front of him, it's getting to the stage where it's sort of Southgate against the media now, and I think this is one where only a coach can sort of. Sometimes coaches make decisions, and a
he
lot of
called
people
him.
don't agree with them, and you almost do it. They try and prove everyone else wrong. So, but time's running out because he's made that mistake. Now people are saying he's never let England down, but he scored that own goal. How much more rope can Southgate give him? I don't see
Yeah,
him playing too much for United because they're not in the Europa League. They're going to have to
yeah,
play strong teams in the Champions League. So if they've got everyone fit, he's not. The only way he's going to play is injuries. So
yeah.
what
It's,
do England and Southgate do with Maguire?
in my opinion, he's as I said, he's just not good enough to be called up. If you're not playing for your club, you shouldn't be playing for your country. And Southgate contradicts himself a lot because he's called up Calvin Phillips too, and he hasn't kicked the ball, and he's called up Jordan Henderson, and that's different situations, obviously, because he's went to Saudi Arabia and stuff. And there was I don't know if you've seen it. Southgate said the reason he doesn't play Phil Foden in the middle is because he doesn't play there for his club, and then it's like, sure, Harry Maguire doesn't kick a ball for his club, so what's the difference? I just think Southgate has his favourites, and that's just the way he is. He's a very stubborn man when it comes to management. A bit like Klopp when Henderson was there. He never seemed to drop him when he was out of form. So it's a tough one when managers have their favourites. They seem to stick to their guns.
I think it's getting to the point now where though he could risk everything by backing Maguire because look, England are qualified by 1-1, which they will
He,
get.
he will
Um,
get called up to the
and
Euros. Like,
he is going to go. I think he'll definitely be on the plane, but I think there's every chance Southgate's going to play him as one of his starting two centre backs.
yeah,
He's making excuses saying about a lack of experience with players injured. I think if everyone's fit, he's still going to play Maguire, and this
oh
is
yeah,
and this is the problem that England fans have with him. Um, so it will be very interesting to see what happens, but I do think he's risking a lot by playing
like
Maguire.
just to bring it back to Ireland, would you put Harry Maguire in the Ireland team at the minute? Like I wouldn't.
I don't like playing players, regardless of their ability, that aren't playing regularly for their team.
Yeah,
I just don't see that as because you're not going to be match fit. You can train and train
yeah,
and train, but you're going to lose that match sharpness. As you
yeah,
said, you've seen it with Calvin Phillips. I mean, that's an even bigger one. He hasn't kicked the ball for near 2 years. He's probably
yeah.
played more games for England as for as
As
for
for
Man
Man
City.
City, yeah.
And he starts the all night. Maguire played, I think he played a full game and then he come on.
He
And
came
that
on
was the bizarre thing. They were 2-0 up and cruising.
and he
And
snubbed one of them.
unless Gahey was injured, I don't really get why Maguire came on. And again, England didn't look the same when Maguire came on. And I do feel a bit for him because he's got to be nervous. Everything he does is being scrutinised. But again, as Southgate helping him, I think Southgate could have done him a favour by leaving him out,
Yeah.
out of the spotlight.
Like
And then hope he plays a few more games. But I think it shows you that Southgate is going to play him regardless of how many games he plays between now and the summer.
yeah, it's it's strange saying like he's getting a lot of media abuse, but as an opposition fan, it is kind of funny to see him make mistakes and play so. But and as a human, then you sort of feel bad for him because it's happening every week. He's getting booed by his own fans, which I don't agree with. I think that's a bit too far. It's not his fault he's getting picked, but as I say, I think Southgate just has a weird obsession with him, and he's not dropping him for whatever reason.
Now, one positive that's definitely come out of them two games for England was Jude Bellingham. Now,
Oh, can we not talk about him?
I think that Scotland game was possibly his best game in an England shirt.
Uh,
Probably the one game I've seen him at that international level where he dominated the game. And he is, as you said, he's only 20. He's growing more and more. It might not even be this Euros that he explodes. It could be maybe next the
World
World
Cup.
Cup in a couple of years. So you don't know where his ceiling's going to be. But how special is Jude Bellingham? Do you foresee him being one of the best midfielders England have ever had?
Wow. Well, as you know over the summer, I sent you probably about 100, 100 things about him joining Liverpool, so it kind of broke my heart. But now, listen, he's a special talent, and being the best that England has ever had.
No,
Eh,
that's not me saying that. I think this is a game where
no,
the media don't help themselves. They're just kind of
mm,
piling this on him, and they're saying that he could be the best ever that ever plays for England.
don't get me wrong. Like he's a special player, but he could be that good if he stays injury fit and if he stays injury free and doesn't have any problems off the pitch. He's a special talent, and as you've seen with his start at Real Madrid, I think he's like 5 goals in 4 games or something like that. So he's
Yeah.
uh he's moved on to a different level since he's been at Madrid.
Do you think he could be the difference? If he's playing at kind of the best that he's shown up to now, if he's playing at his best, if Kane turns up, if Madison's at himself, if Grealish, you've got Foden, you've got Saka, if all these players kind of be anywhere near their best, and you add on Jude Bellingham, that this might be England's time.
They're definitely up there for the one of the favorites for Euro 2024. Obviously, I never ever want to see England win anything because it's unbearable. They listen to not the players but the media and all that. But maybe it's just a bit of jealousy on our part because we're Irish and But
Well, I don't
no,
think it's an
listen,
Irish thing.
England.
If you look at the Scottish fans, they don't have any
Yeah,
love for the England fans
yeah,
either.
uh, I think I do think England have us. I think this is the best English team that I've seen in my lifetime, and I grew up when England had like so Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, Rooney. But I think this is a special group of England players, which and it pains me to say that, but it is.
Now, one criticism that's been labelled at Southgate other than the Maguire thing is that his tactics and his setup and his overall team selection. Now, he seems to favour playing with two holding midfielders regardless of the opposition, even if
Yeah,
it's Ukraine or Scotland. He seems to favour having Rice and Phillips or Rice and Henderson. And I
yeah.
imagine that's going to be the way forward. Um, do you think
Well, Henderson keep
Southgate,
getting
he's got it wrong in the big games because they've lost him, hasn't he? He got it wrong
yeah,
against France, he got it wrong against Croatia, and he got it wrong against Italy in the final. Um, over a course of a few years, when it's come to the crunch, semi-finals, final, it's not went well.
and that
And
and
he's
that
been
years
heavily,
that years that they lost to was in their own backyard, which probably hurt even more.
100%. You always have that extra incentive at home. But do you think that he'll learn from that? Do you see him maybe tweaking it up if they, And the thing about the Euros is there's not as many strong teams, because you haven't got Brazil and you haven't got
Yeah,
Argentina and you haven't got some of the R teams. So you've
yeah.
only really Germany's going through a transitional period. I know they're hosts and they usually perform well when they're at home, but
Well,
they're not fully at the races. Spain are going through a transitional period. They might be the best opposition outside of the two teams I think are probably the strongest, England and
France and
France.
UK.
Belgium have had their regeneration of players. They're not
Yeah,
anywhere near the strong. So there's not an overall strength or in a lot of European teams. Other than I would say England will see France as their main rivals.
I
So
think I think like as you say, they're the two strongest teams, and I think it could come down to them too to win the Euros in the summer.
do you think Southgate will change though? See if they're playing a Germany or
Man,
they're playing a Spain, or even if it's a France, that you still see him setting up with the two holding midfielders and sacrificing an attacking player to do that.
it's hard to say, really, depending on like circumstances around the game. But as I said at the start, I just think he's stubborn and he sticks to his ways. But in my opinion, if I was setting up England now, the midfield three for me would be Rice, Madison, and Bellingham. That has to
I
be
think
the
that's
midfield
what
three.
England fans want, but they're more than likely going to see. I think the way Bellingham's playing, Madison's not going to play, so it's going to
Yeah.
be Rice, Henderson, and Bellingham, or Rice, Phillips, and Bellingham. So I think that's what frustrates. And then you've also got the pro. He seems to favour playing Trippier as a left back when there's obvious left backs there. He seems to like playing him on there. He
He
seems
could
to
play.
he doesn't like to play Trent, another talented footballer. He likes to
I
play
was just going to
Walker.
come up. I
So
was just going to
there's a
say
lot of,
that.
and then there's the Maguire issue. He seems to, and then there's no room for Phil Foden because they've only got room for Saka and maybe Rashford or so Foden. There's so many big decisions for him to make, but
He
you
seems
know,
to. He seems to. When he does play Trent, he seems to play him as a midfielder. So that could be an option, but I don't. I can't see
well,
it
he
in the
does it
big games.
against teams like Malta, but
I,
he won't do
that's
that.
what I was going to say. I can't see it against like a France or a Germany or.
Now, there's talk that Southgate himself may step down after the Euros, but do you feel that even if he wanted to stay on after the Euros, the only way he can do that is if he wants it? There seems to be so much pressure on him now that he's had a lot of time. And I think as well, the England media have got carried away. I think he has done a pretty decent job because England
Yeah.
weren't getting anywhere near winning it or finals in before Southgate. And he has managed you mentioned that there, the likes of Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, Beckham, they had top players Rooney before, but they could
Yeah.
never really get them to gel together. Southgate's done that pretty well. He's got them gelled together, but do you feel that if he wanted to stay on, he would have to win the tournament this time?
I think either way, if he wins it or not, I think this will be his last tournament as an England manager. And if he does win it, what better way than go out and win in England their first major trophy since '66?
I agree. I think he's going to, even if they were to win it, he's going to step down. And I kind of feel that's why he's just going to persist with what he's done. I think that's why you're going to see Phillips or Henderson play with Rice, or maybe rotate them around based on games. I think Maguire will play unless he's injured.
You
I think
think
he'll
he'll
come on there.
you think
There's
he'll call
arguments.
Henderson up for the Euros?
I think he will. I think he will. And then there's also the fact that a lot of people believe Ramsdale's a better goalkeeper than Pickford, but he picks Pickford anyway. So I don't see him. I don't see him changing what he's sort of trusted him so far. He's kind of said that the games they've lost, Croatia was extra time, Italy was a penalty shootout, and France, Kane missed a penalty to level the game up. That it was fine margins, not down to his tactics. So I kind of feel that it's going to be pretty much the same for England.
Yeah, well, this could be the last tournament for some of the players. Like it's probably going to be Maguire's last tournament, Henderson's last tournament, Kane possibly. So it could be just the last hurrah for them. They want a trophy with their country, so maybe that's another reason why you might stick with them.
I think they might get one more out of Kane,
Yeah.
unless somebody was to break through that was better. I think they maybe stick with Kane for one more. But I do agree. I think Henderson, this will be his last. Maguire, I think as well, whoever comes on won't fancy him. And there's going to be a change in the yard. Walker's the top right back, but I feel that right back spot has to go to a younger player after this. I think Rice
Probably
Trent
Reece James or Trent.
So they're blessed with right backs. I think we would take any one of them three.
Oh, I'd probably take. They even have the likes of Kyle Walker-Peters, who can't get a look on. He's a decent player. I'd take him.
Yeah. Right. Let's start focusing on the Premier League. It's back on Saturday, and the big story at the minute dominating England is Jadon Sancho. It sort of happened after the Arsenal game. Ten Hag had made in his press conference had said that he wasn't training well enough to be selected. And since then, he's refused to apologise, and he's now being separated from the group. He will train individually until there's a resolution. All the transfer windows are pretty much closed. I think Turkey closes tomorrow. I don't really see anything happen. It looks like Sancho's going to be here to at least January. So I don't know what the resolution will be. And I think, as he's seen when Ronaldo doesn't apologise, you rarely see players back down. I don't really see Sancho playing another game for United now. Even if there was an injury crisis, there's talk they've been looking at free transfers. El Ghazi has been linked, and they've done that before with Weghorst. They've stopgapped until. So I think this is much of a power struggle. But the big issue that we'll come on to Sancho here, but the big issue is when they made the decision with Ronaldo, results were good. If results go wrong here, that's when people start to question your decision. So how big a moment do you think this is? Another big moment? We had the Ronaldo moment. Do you think this is maybe another big moment that he has to try and overcome? It's not easy because they've lost Greenwood, and there's huge possibility of losing Anthony now as well. That they're going to be very short in the attacking area. So how big is this for Ten Hag?
It's a weird one because Sancho wasn't really playing anyway. He always seemed to prefer Anthony, and even your wee man Palestri, I think his name was getting games over him. And now with Anthony being out for the foreseeable future, it's a difficult one. I'm not going to lie, as an opposition fan, I think it's hilarious because it's just funny to see United in turmoil. But it's a weird situation. There always seems to be something off the pitch with Man United. In the past few years, you had Ronaldo, obviously Greenwood, now Sancho, and Anthony. So I agree with you. I don't think there's any way back for him at United, but it's whether who takes him. Does he go back to Dortmund? Does he go to Saudi Arabia? Like it's a
I
weird one.
think the problem United have now is the season kind of starts now because after starting back, you've got the Champions League starting again now. They've got Bayern Munich on Wednesday. The squad's going to be stretched. You can't just keep playing. If you keep playing players, if they keep sticking, if they play their front three, their favorite front three, and there's an injury, you're going to have to bring players on. So they haven't got a lot of strength and depth in that attacking area. If Anthony's out, Greenwood's left, and now with Sancho sidelined, you're looking at Pulisic, Garnacho, but they're young players that you can't really
And
expect them to perform.
Rashford has his fitness problems as well.
Rashford is Hodgins, very new to the league. He might need time to settle. He's young as well, so this could be a big struggle for United. We'll come on to it, but this is starting to look like it's a big job for Ten Hag now to try and get United steered. They done so well last year. They finished third, so you're going to be judged on that. His task to try and improve. I think at the moment, even if he was to finish third again and won another trophy, that would be seen as an improvement. Just imagine that.
Yeah,
that looks a long way off at the moment. So, how does he try and get this ship steer in the right direction?
It's a hard one because, as I say, you don't know how long Anthony's going to be out for. Sancho doesn't seem to be favoured. They don't really have any other attacking options. And yes, they finished third last season, but the argument is Liverpool aren't going to be as bad as they were. Spurs aren't going to be as bad as they were. Chelsea, I don't know, because they're still a bit of a
Chelsea are the gift that keeps on giving at the moment. So
yeah, so it's a hard one, and if I was to put my money on it, I can't see United being in the mix for top 4 at the end of the season, top 5, whatever it is, and I definitely don't see them winning the Champions League.
It's a big week for them because they've got Brighton on Saturday, which is going to be tough, and Bayern Munich as well.
I think Brighton do them over.
Save it for the predictions at the end of the show. Now, we spoke about Sancho there. He seems to be having one of them careers that he just can't get away from trouble. He had trouble at Dortmund. He had trouble at Man City before that. He had trouble with Southgate at England, and now more trouble again. Is he just not learning from his previous mistakes? He's not a young lad anymore. He's had plenty of experience.
He seems to be like that sort of player that trouble will always follow him.
But we're seeing another player that's possibly wasting his career. He's such a talented player.
Yep. When he first, I didn't know much of him when he was at Man City because he was a young player then. But from the bit I seen him at Dortmund, I thought he was electric. And then when he joined United, I think it was 2021. Was it? I think it was 2021.
They chased him the year before. They couldn't get him, and then they got him the following summer.
Yeah. So when he joined United, I thought that was a really big signing for them. Like I would have took him at Liverpool at the time, but as I say, when he was at Dortmund, there was disciplinary issues. I think it was during COVID, he didn't follow rules, and
I think he has a reputation for turning up late at training and stuff.
Yeah, I think it was at Man City too. He turned down a contract offer, which was, I think at the time, was big money for a youth player. So it just can't seem to get his head down and focus on football. And obviously he had that mental health break last season, which we won't judge him for because we don't know what went on in his personal life. So he could still be struggling with that too at the same time. So we go back to it
the problem that Sancho might have here, right, is that a lot of teams now are going to be looking at him going, well, he's had trouble here, trouble there, trouble with everyone.
Yeah.
It's where Sancho, if he's done at United, he's not going to get another big club. Maybe he's going to have to try and rebuild himself again. I don't see another top club coming on for him based on. We've seen now a lot of these clubs are doing their research, and that's one of the things that United don't seem to be doing because apparently when Ronaldo come on, for as good as he was for United scoring them goals, apparently he was causing all sorts of problems behind the scenes. That happened at Real Madrid. It happened at Juventus as well. Sancho was a player that had a troubled record. He didn't have to look too far to see that. We spoke about structures of clubs. United at the moment, we've seen Gary Neville. It's a mess. He said about the owners. And I think you can't just blame owners for results. But at the end of the day, the structure of the club comes down to the owners. They're employing people in certain positions, and it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. They're having so much trouble off the pitch.
I don't know much about how United work as a club, but I know their directors is your man Richard Arnold and Murda or something, and they've just made a whole mess up of the whole situation. The Greenwood situation was a farce from start to finish. I think the only reason that he was shipped out was because of fan backlash. And I could see Greenwood being at United today, like because obviously they wanted him back, uh, and apparently he's like a Taffy, but it's only a loan until January or something. I think
I
there's like
don't
a
think he can play for
uh,
United again after that backlash. I think that's the problem. But they're really stuck at the moment. If they're
yeah,
struggling come January, and they he can't get a replacement, you might have to bring him back on just to try and save
uh,
face. But it
uh,
will be interesting. Do you feel that at the minute? Obviously you're enjoying it because you're a Liverpool fan, but
mhm.
this isn't good for United. They're really
No,
struggling. They get things right off the pitch, and when things aren't right off the pitch, it usually
it's
transfers on the pitch.
it's I it's hard because off the pitch, as you say, it's just a mess at the minute, and on the pitch hasn't been great so far this season. Yes, I can't remember who they beat, but they've won one game this season. They lost to Spurs. They've lost to
They won.
Arsenal.
They beat Wolves. They
Wolves,
beat
that's
a
what it was.
10-man Forest, and they
They
lost to Spurs, and they lost to Arsenal.
and and by all accounts, they should have dropped points to Wolves. They should have lost to Forest. So it could have been a lot worse for United. But if I was a United fan sitting here today, I would be really worried about the season if they can't get things sorted off the pitch. Obviously, the ownership's a big problem. They want them out, but it doesn't seem to be that they're going anywhere at the minute. There's been rumors that they've taken them off the market, and there's been other rumors that they've got investment from the boy, some Sir Jim Ratcliffe's company. So it's hard to tell what's going on there at the minute.
I don't think anyone actually knows the truth. Look, it's great to have it back. Premier League is back on Saturday. There's no real standout game this weekend. We've had that over the last first 4 weeks. We've had a sort of top six clash.
West
You know,
Ham, Man City.
well, on the league, on if you look at the
Yeah,
standings now, it's a top two clash, top three clash.
yeah,
But in terms of where teams are expected to be, there's no glamour tie.
yeah.
Possibly the pick of the bunch being United Brighton, but it isn't actually on TV. That's actually a 3 o'clock game. Obviously next week we've got the North London Derby, and I think after that we've got Spurs Liverpool. So we've got some big games coming up. So this is kind of one of them weekends where a lot of the top teams will be expected to win their games, and it doesn't always work out that way, especially after an international break when players have picked up knocks. They haven't had a lot of training time because, especially South American players, they've only sort of got back training today.
Well, I think Nunez came back injured for us, so that's great.
Callum saying Derry Rovers is probably the standout. That is a huge game
Yeah,
tomorrow night. That's
that's a
actually
big
on. It's
that's
actually
a big
on.
one.
Anyone that can't get a ticket because it's sold out, it's actually on Virgin Media too
Yep.
for anyone
Okay.
listening.
I'll be well.
So that's an alternative way to see tomorrow night's game. Derry
I
4 points behind Rovers. They need to win the
What's
game.
your thoughts on that before we get
Well,
into
Derry, it's a must-win for Derry. I think if
yeah.
Rovers get a draw, they will be delighted, and I think they won't be caught. So Derry have to win, and hopefully they do. I'll be watching that tomorrow night, and then I'll be getting ready to go to. I'll be getting ready to go to the airport because I'm going to the Spurs and Sheffield game on Saturday. Absolutely buzzing to be going back. So I'll be looking forward to that.
You'll probably see good football for a change.
I'm not counting my chickens because it wouldn't be like Spurs. They let you down, I tell you that. But Spurs Sheffield buzzing. Can't wait. Saturday though starts off with your mob. These are playing Wolves away. The dreaded 12:30 kickoff. Liverpool fans have told me. The excuses are on already against the Wolves team.
We don't have a good record at 12:30
against the Wolves team that have only won one game out of four. And they were pretty poor, and they were unlucky against United, but they were very fortunate to beat Everton. They were well beat by Brighton, and they were very lucky that Palace didn't beat them by more before the break. So I think Liverpool have got to be fancied themselves here to go a statement down at 12:30. I mean, Callum was saying to me he wants Liverpool top of the table, even if it's only for 2 hours. So they've got that extra incentive. How do you see it going on, Wolves Liverpool?
It's always a tough game going on the break, coming back from a break, especially as you say with the South American players not back yet. Not back to full training yet, but I do fully expect us to continue our great start of the season. And as Callum says, it would be great to have us top of the table for at least 2 hours. I'll be screaming end the season if we do win, but I do think we'll beat Wolves.
Interestingly, the games this weekend will be the final day fixtures reversed. So whoever you're playing this weekend,
we always seem to have Wolves in the final day.
Arsenal always seem to have Everton as well. I
Yeah.
think these fixtures are nearly set up in a certain way. So anyone that's watching, whoever you play this weekend will be your final day fixture reversed.
Hopefully the reverse fixture at Anfield has us lifting the Premier League title.
Liverpool fans just cannot help themselves, can they? They're dreaming of lifting that title against Wolves.
No,
And you know what?
just dreaming about
I do
it.
feel sorry for Liverpool fans because the one year they won the league, there was no fans in the stadium, so they probably deserve another opportunity to do it in front of their fans. But look, I'm actually looking forward to this game because I'll be sitting in the bar watching it, having a nice pint, getting ready for Spurs and Sheffield. And to be honest, I think Liverpool's going to absolutely steamroll Wolves. I'm going to kick it off. I think I'm going to go for a 3-0 Liverpool one.
I'll second you in that. I'll go 3-0 Liverpool as well.
3-0. Right. What we'll do is I'll go. So you'll go first next time, right?
Yep.
And then we'll reverse it then as we go along.
Yep.
So you expect Liverpool to be top of the table at 3:00 on Saturday?
Yep, 100%.
Can they stay there?
Hopefully.
I don't know if you've seen Meats. Meats is still thinking that these are the strongest. These are going to win it. So maybe to get on the Meats bandwagon.
Well, Meats is a big fan of FSG, so I don't think we'll agree on
that. Aston Villa against Crystal Palace. Now, interestingly, Villa seem to be up and down at the moment. They swept Everton and Burnley aside, but equally were destroyed by Liverpool and Newcastle. I just don't know what they make of Villa at the moment. I've got so many flashbacks. They were actually good flashbacks. I remember when Emery had that second season at Arsenal. They were conceding a lot of shots on goal, and it just seems to be when the balance isn't right with Emery's teams, it can be they can really suffer at times. So I think Villa need to try and get on a bit of a run like they did at the end of last season. And I think Palace at home is a good game for them. But again, how have they got the squad? They go for Europe because Emery takes it very seriously. I know it's a Conference League, but they still have games, and their players won't be used to playing Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So how do you see this one go? Palace have done quite well. They haven't made a lot of signings. They've lost Zaha, but
they're unbeaten as well, aren't they?
Well, they lost to Arsenal, but I think they're unbeaten. They drew with Brentford, didn't they?
They drew with Brentford and Forest,
and they drew with Forest. So they've had a couple of decent results. How do you see this one going?
I think Villa will beat them at home. I'm going to go 2-1 Villa.
2-1 Villa. It's a tough one because I think Palace will be dangerous in a counter attack. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a shock Palace one. I just have an inkling that they're going to do something. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Palace one. Big Roy special. They'll just get the goal and then they'll ride out the Villa onslaught. Fulham against Luton. Now Fulham, they've done okay as well. I mean, they beat Everton on the opening day.
I think they've been dreadful.
But they've done okay results wise. They got a good result away at Arsenal. But I think Mitrovic is a massive loss for them. And they don't. I think they overachieved last season. I think that's their problem. A lot of teams are looking at. They finished in the top half last year, didn't they? 10th. So it was you always felt there's going to be a drop off, and Luton at the moment just look very much out of their depth at this level. I think they're trying their best, but they just haven't got the quality.
I don't think they've won a game all season.
No, they're pointless at the moment, and away from home, I think it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a 2-0 Fulham one.
I'm going to go 4-0 Fulham.
4-0 Fulham. You don't give Luton much of a prayer. No. United Brighton, probably the most intriguing game of the weekend. United are desperate to get some sort of form together because they've got Bayern Munich away on Wednesday. And this is a tricky game. Brighton at the minute, for me, any team that beats Brighton is a massive scalp. I just view them now as one of the sort of maybe not one of the top, but outside of the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, I look at them as a real test for a team. And I mean, they've blown Luton away, they've blown Wolves away, they blew Newcastle away. They have that one
players that they've lost as well.
Oh, but they just play such good football, don't they? And they can just replace players they got. I mean, De Zerbi's going to have a high stock. It's going to be interesting to see if Brighton always seem to lose their best and they seem to replace him even better. So if they were to lose De Zerbi, I'm not sure they will be able to replace him. But
De Zerbi would be my choice for a manager when Klopp moves on.
so that shows you how highly his stock is. As I said, the one black mark Brighton have had was against West Ham, where they were hitting a counter attack.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, I don't think United fans will accept it. But the way they are at the minute,
They'll have to play in the counter.
I can see Brighton dominant in possession,
Yeah.
and United plausibly playing. They hit them on the counter attack, and it's one of them games. It might work. United have only lost one game at Old Trafford since August last year, and that was in fact Brighton on the opening day. So we've criticised the results against the top teams, but actually at home they beat Liverpool, they beat Spurs, they beat Arsenal, they beat Chelsea, they beat Man City. So it does seem to be away from home. They have their massive struggles, and they usually are pretty reliable at home. Now, Callum pointed out to me a few times he thinks that some of these results were steeped in luck. So I think we'll find out more this year if that's sustainable. Owen, I believe you're up first this time. How do you see it going?
I'm gonna go 3-1 Brighton.
That would pile the pressure on Ten Hag because I don't see them getting anything in Bayern Munich on Wednesday.
No, I just think Brighton will be too strong for them. I don't know why. I love the way Brighton play football, and I just think Brighton will as you say, dominate the ball, and I think they'll be clinical when the chances come. And as I say, I think they'll win 3-1.
If Brighton are clinical, I think they won as well. But I just think if you look at the West Ham game, they do have games where they aren't clinical, and I think United, if they get chances in the break, will be a lot more devastating.
I'm hoping they're clinical this week and not next week because that's who we have.
So if some big games for Brighton too. Struggling. I think United will get something just because I think Brighton will give them opportunities and Brighton may not finish them off. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think it could be a great game. Spurs and Sheffield. Oh, God. All set up for the sucker punch. I can see it. Honestly, I couldn't have handpicked a better game. I think at the minute Spurs are firing on all cylinders. Obviously, international break. You don't know how players. We haven't lost anyone to injury, which is quite good.
Sheffield,
Sheffield. I think, if you look at Sheffield in every game they've competed, they've only lost by a goal in the games they've lost. Yeah, exactly. Then they proved against Man City. It took a Rodri screamer in injury time. They beat Man City, although that was at home. I think away from home, it might be a bit more easier. But Sheffield are going to. This is going to be the first game where Spurs are going to be playing a team that really sits back. Bournemouth, under this new coach, have attacked. Burnley have been playing attacking football. United were probably the more defensive of the teams, funny enough, but that was still quite open. And Brentford in the opening day was quite open as well. So this is like a new territory. I think we've got to try and score early. But I do think we will. We've got too many players playing well, and I think we will win quite convincingly. I'm going to go for a 3-0 Spurs 1.
I will go 2-0 Sheffield. No, I'll go 3-0 Spurs.
3-0 Spurs. Now, West Ham against Man City. This is probably another big game. If you had a look this weekend at the games you'd want to see, these West Ham, Man City, and possibly United Brighton,
I don't know.
Probably the two games you might have fancied on TV, but
I don't know who chooses these TV schedules.
Exactly, but I think whereas the United Brighton game might be a more sort of toe-to-toe, maybe we were saying United could sit back, but still think being at home, their fans might encourage them to go forward a bit. West Ham fans will be pretty relaxed about them sitting back. I think Man City is going to completely dominate the ball. But there's an argument at the minute that West Ham are possibly the most devastating counter-attacking team in the league. You've seen what they did at Brighton, the Chelsea. I think when Bowen and Antonio and Benrahma are on it, and they've got this new midfield that seems to be gelling quite well with Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, and they haven't even used Kudos yet. Paqueta's still there. They've got some decent players, and they're quite decent at the back too when they have to be. Tricky game for Man City one. City have won 4-4, and the danger for all these other teams like Liverpool, they're dreaming of winning the league. As if Man City keep winning, it just becomes really, really dogged. So, do you see Man City slipping up here, or are they just going to steamroll West Ham?
My heart says they'll win, and my head says that it'll be a draw. So, I'm gonna go in my head and say West Ham will get a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. I think you won't be far off. I think if City won, it'll be super tight. And and coming back from international break, you just don't know.
Mm.
I'm going to agree with you as well. I think this could be a draw. I think this might open the league up as
Yep.
well. So I'm going
We
to go
see
for
it'll end up 5-0 Man City now after
I'm going
saying
to
that.
go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
You were saying it could be one of them ones where you get it badly wrong. The 5:30 game now. This will be a decent watch. Newcastle against Brentford, and if you listen to the reports this week coming out of Saudi Arabia from the owner, he's
They're not
just
happy.
prompted himself to say this. He says that Eddie Howe is safe. But will Eddie Howe be safe if they lose this game, lose the AC Milan, and maybe losing all? No, for as well as Eddie Howe's done, this is the problem you have now. Newcastle have
It's,
got that taste of European football. They want to stay there. They don't want to fall backwards. Maybe you could say that the fixtures were unkind. They played, Man City, Liverpool, and they played Brighton. They were 1-0 up against 10 men against Liverpool. They should be closing that out.
yeah.
Brighton away, they were still considered favourites, or they weren't expected to be completely outplayed at Brighton. A team they finished above last year. Whilst Brighton are a good side, Newcastle are sort of says to be stronger, and that
Yeah.
didn't materialise on the day. So, how big a game is this, Freddie? How
Oh, it's massive, especially going into the game against AC Milan. I'm not too sure. Are they home against AC Milan or are they away?
away?
See that'll be a tough environment as well because it's Eddie Howe's first taste of European football, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it'll be a tough game. It'll definitely be a tough game for Newcastle. But I do think they'll bounce back. I think they'll win 2-1. I'm gonna go for.
So James's Park will be rocking, I think, because I think the fans realise that they need a win here. They try and kickstart their season.
Yeah.
The Villa game, although they won 5-1, it feels like a long time ago now after them 3 defeats. And I do think they will respond. I'm going to go for a 2-0 one. Although Brentford will cause them problems as well. So I think the first goal in that game's key, but I do think Newcastle will get it and they'll win 2-0.
If Newcastle do lose it, I think it'll be big pressure on Eddie Howe.
Bournemouth against Chelsea is the first game on Super Sunday. Now, as I said earlier, Chelsea are the gift that keeps on giving. You couldn't trust Chelsea. They tell you today was Thursday at the moment. They just let you down. It's great if you're a Spurs fan or an Arsenal fan or any other opposition fan, but Chelsea fans at the moment must be pulling their hair out. They had that awful season last year. They get Pochettino on. The place is uplifted. They've signed some really top young players, but at the moment it's just not working. They just can't seem to break teams down when teams play a low block against them. And I think if you look at it, it's similar to last season. They just haven't got anyone to put the ball in the net. They can create chances, but they can't score.
I couldn't tell you Chelsea's best 11, and I don't even think Pochettino could tell you Chelsea's best 11 at the moment.
No, and Bournemouth, as we've seen in certain games against Liverpool, they started the game pretty well, and that high press, if it works, will cause them teams trouble. I mean, they could have been 2 up against Liverpool in the first part of the game. If you look at the Spurs game the week after, they were outplayed in the first half, but for the first 15 minutes of the second half, they put Spurs under real pressure. Should have been back at 1-1. And the end, Spurs get the goal right after that, and the game's over. And against Brentford last week, they were minutes away, or before the national break, they were minutes away from a big one away at Brentford. So I think there's reasons for Bournemouth fans to be optimistic. And I mean, Chelsea are going to be low in confidence, pressure on again because it's an hour game they're expected they won.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that Chelsea could slip up here?
I mean, there's always since Todd Bowles came on with Chelsea, it's like a comedy show. I would love to see one of them Amazon documentaries on Chelsea. That would be a good watch. But I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Bournemouth one. Chelsea away from home just don't.
You couldn't back Chelsea. No, I get that. I think a lot of their fans are losing fifth already. I mean, if they were to lose or draw this, already I think Pochettino's under huge pressure, and I do think he needs time. But he is. I've heard a lot of Chelsea fans say ex-Spurs man, kind of how we viewed Conte and Mourinho. When things aren't going well already, that Spurs history is being brought up, and they have spent a lot of money. The plan initially was to give Potter loads of time, and the end results became untenable because if Spurs, Liverpool both won again. Our teams won and they keep dropping points. All of a sudden, after 7 or 8 games, it could be 8 or 9 points behind the top 4. And already that's a big gap they try and bridge up. And they've not won a lot of football matches in the last 12 months. It's been staggered results. So I think that would put a big strain on them, catching them.
I saw a stat the other day where Enzo Fernandez has only won 13 games since he's come on to Chelsea.
That's crazy. Uh-huh.
It's mad, which is great to see because I dislike Chelsea, but it's madness, especially as you say with a
I mean,
what is it?
that's probably 13 matches in all competitions. So
Uh,
that's probably FA Cups, League Cups, so it's a really poor stat if you think about it. But you says 2-1 Bournemouth. I think it'll be a
yeah,
draw. I'm gonna
yeah,
go for a 1-1.
1-1.
Now Everton Arsenal is the 4:30 game. For whatever reason, at the minute, Arsenal seem to really struggle going to Goodison Park. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games away, but Arsenal or Everton cannot buy a one at the minute. And even when they do create chances, they struggle to put them away. They've scored their 2 home games this season. They've been arguably the better team and didn't score a goal in either of them.
They should have beat Sheffield United, I think.
They probably should have beat Sheffield United, but on the end they could have lost it. Only for
Yeah,
Pickford's great save at the end, triple save.
yeah.
Um, it'll be difficult for Arsenal because Everton's a tight pitch. The fans will be up for it because they need a result, and they'll be conscious of that record that they have over Arsenal.
Yeah.
And as you said, Arsenal will be up against a low block. And in certain games this season, we've seen it with United. They had to won the game late. Fulham, they only drew the game. Palace, they needed a penalty to beat them.
You
And
could have
Forest
lost against Fulham too, I think.
So, exactly. So if Arsenal's ones have all been kind of grinded out, so they're not maybe playing at their best at the moment. How do you think this one will go?
It's a weird one because it's hard, but I'm gonna go with because Arsenal don't have a good record there. I think Everton will 1-1.
You see some big results coming this weekend, don't you? You've topped up a few shocks. He says Brighton, they beat United. He says Bournemouth, they beat Chelsea.
I don't think Brighton beating United would be that big of a shock.
I don't think it would be. You're right. And you could argue Bournemouth beating Chelsea wouldn't be considered a big shock either.
But
I think a lot of people expect Arsenal to beat Everton, and I do think this weekend they will end that Goodison Park hoodoo. I think they'll do it quite comfortably. I think Arsenal will win by 2-0.
If Everton lose, I think Sean Dyche. We're talking about Eddie Howe being under pressure. I think Sean Dyche could be on the first manager. He could be on the chopping block.
Well, if you can't get results in this business, you're out. That's the way it is. Monday night football is Nottingham Forest against Burnley.
Can't we not watch that?
Again, I don't really know who's picking these games, but it seems to be one of them weekends where they've just had a bit of a lull. But Nottingham Forest playing Burnley. 8:15 kickoff instead of the usual time of 8. Not sure why that is.
Is it on Sky? Yeah.
It's on Sky. So Forest are one of them teams at home. They seem to get results, and that is what kept them up last year. They've started this season. They beat Sheffield United at home. They should have beat United. They beat somebody else, did they?
I can't mind off the top of my head.
I think they may have won their 2 home games. I would need to be, but they definitely beat Chelsea away too, didn't they? Oh, sorry, that's what it was. They beat Chelsea away.
They beat Chelsea. They should have beat United at home. That's what it was.
So Forest have done quite well this season so far. And Burnley at the moment just seem to be caught up and trying to play the same football that won them a championship and the Premier League. And at the moment they find themselves with 0 points. I think Forest will win this again. I think Burnley will play into their hands, and I think Forest will probably win this by, I'll say 2-1.
I'm going to go 3-0 Forest. Divock Origi to get a hat-trick.
Owen, that is the roundup of all games. Great to have you on. What are you looking forward to coming up in the next few weeks? Some big games coming. You were saying Brighton away, Spurs away.
I'm looking forward to the Spurs game, obviously, because you're a Spurs man, so that'll be interesting. But I'm Europa League starting too. I'm buzzing for that. Yeah.
Are you just got in the Europa League?
Couldn't.
Funny enough, I'm going to be a slight change in the podcast schedule now because I'm going to have to go on a Monday night now because we've got the Champions League starting. So I think I'm going to be back on Monday with Logie. He's a big United fan. And we're going to be looking ahead. We're going to look back on the weekend results. And we're also going to be looking ahead to the big games in the Champions League. AC Milan, Newcastle, of course, and as well that big tie between Bayern Munich and
You're not
United.
gonna be you're not gonna be looking forward to the Europa League games now.
No, well, hey, because you know what, I'm going to enjoy a Thursday night, not watching any of that crap football. I know it's rich coming from a Spurs fan. We're not involved in Europe, but I'm happy out. I'm happy out of it this season. I'm going to focus on the Premier League.
The only thing I'm getting out of the Europa League is we'll see some young players hopefully. So
Well, the good thing about that is if you can endure the sort of first part of it, second half of the season, you'll play better teams, and of course, you could have a massive day out in Dublin. At the end of the season.
if we don't win the Europa League this season, I'll be very disappointed.
Hey, we'll leave it there. Owen, thanks very much. Enjoy the football over the weekend.
Enjoy your trip to Spurs.
I can't wait. I'm going to enjoy it. And I'll be back on Monday, as you said. And anyone watching, make sure they like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. Owen, thanks very much, buddy.
No bother, lad.